There we go. Hi, everyone. It's Bhavani back with Mind, Body, Spirit. And I'm chatting to our wonderful presenters hosting workshops with us at the festival at the end of this month at the Olympia London. As you can see, I'm joined by the wonderful Dr. David Hamilton, who is joining us in London for a workshop. Hi, David. How's it going?
Hi, Bhavani. I'm very well. Yourself?
I'm really well. Thank you for asking.
Good,
How have you
good, good.
been? We've
Really
been
well,
missing
yeah.
you.
Yeah, I'm just keep my head down. I'm working on another book at the moment, and I've been doing some studying and stuff like that, and just keep myself busy. Too busy, actually.
Well, it's always amazing things, and I always love hearing about what you're up to. And that makes me even more excited that we are actually having you in the flesh at the festival at the end of this month. Tell us all about it.
Well, I'm doing a workshop called Quantum Field Healing, which is it's a
It's
kind of
quantum field healing as though it's a small little thing.
yeah. Well, do you know what happened? Is I was playing around a few years ago, like several years ago, I'd been researching on spontaneous remissions, why, looking at evidence for people who make spontaneous recoveries. And one of the things that precede these sorts of things is a massive shift in an experience within themselves, or it could be a shift in belief, but there's some sort of significant step shift. And so I came up with the technique because I've been writing and speaking a lot about visualization. In many ways, your brain doesn't distinguish real from imaginary. So if you imagine something, and keep imagining it, your brain processes it much the same way as if it's really happening, kind of thing. And I've been teaching that for years in the context of how we can use that to help ourselves to be well. And I thought, when I had a little experience of, playful experience of someone I knew who had a really heavy cold, and she really believed in what I can do. And I just jokingly put my hand on her head and gave her a push and said, "Cold cancel." And she fell back like that and it disappeared. She was literally 100%. And I thought, I didn't actually do anything. And I realized, but she believed in me. And that was the thing. And I realized that she had made a shift in that moment in her mind, and that was enough to facilitate a massive transformation. So the technique was based upon how can we shift a person's perspective of what the physical body is. And the biggest shift you can get of that is to imagine what the body would be like if you were the size of a quantum wave or a quantum particle. In other words, if everything was shrunk down to everything was just vibrations of energy. And that is a significant shift in perspective. And so the technique was based on really just using visualization, but shifting the perspective away from physical down to the very nuts and bolts of how things work.
I love this, and I can say from firsthand experience, because I've been following your work for such a long time, and especially as part of Mind, Body, Spirit. And I decided a few years ago, especially after the last few years we've had, and I decided that I wasn't going to get COVID and I wasn't going to get sick. And since then, I haven't had flu or anything like that. I've had other things for sure, but that's a particular type of manifestation of illness just hasn't come. And it was a friend of mine that reminded me, saying, "Hey, you said this a few years ago and you've not had that kind of illness for us." So I very much believe that it's possible, and I very much enjoy the way you communicate that to your students and to your participants in a way that really empowers them to be able to do it for themselves. So thank you for sharing that. What is it that you're going to be doing in this particular workshop with us in the room in London?
I'll be teaching the actual technique live, so I'll be teaching how it works, and we'll be going through as a live guided meditation experience. And I'll also be teaching thoroughly how the mind-body connection works. How is it that what you think about, how you feel, things that you imagine, how does that actually have a physical effect on the brain? How does it actually have a physical effect in the body? So the workshop's really in two parts. It's understanding how it works, and then it's the experiential. Let's do the technique together live.
Yeah. And you're also teaching people not just how to do this on themselves, but how to do it for others, loved ones who may be suffering, and also to do it at a distance as well.
Yeah, because a lot of research suggests that when we say a prayer for someone, or do what people call distant healing intention, so you send a healing intention at a distance, that there really is an effect on that person, in their consciousness, in their nervous system and stuff. So based on that presumption, we'll do we can actually do the distant one, so you can either do the technique for yourself or you can do it for a distant at a distance for someone. One way that I've practiced it many times is to actually put my hands on a person's shoulders or on their head and do the visualization in physical contact like that. So there's different ways in which you can practice the technique, and it really depends on what a person wants.
It's really, what I love is that you back up everything that you share with real gravitas of the science. And so is it that someone, once they practice something like this, they could technically say that they are a healer, especially if it works? Or is there also an element of nature and time, and when it's people's time and all this sort of thing?
Yeah, I think that as well. You know, one of my really profound experiences really is I lost my dad last year, and I was doing a lot of visualization for my dad, but at the same time, I realized that was my dad's time, and when it's a person's time, what the visualization might do, and certainly did for my experience, is it can help a person to deeply have a peaceful experience leading up to it, and a peaceful transition. And we had a couple of wee miracles, like literally my dad, his body was dying, and he was in the palliative care, and there's this, you know, many people have had this experience. You know that you can actually watch the body gradually fading away, and there was a moment where it was only the first time in a week, literally first time in a whole week, the only time that it wasn't other family members or, you know, extended family members or friends or nurses. It was just literally my mum, my three sisters and myself by my dad's bedside, the first time in a week. And I just closed my eyes for a second. I said, Dad, it's okay to go now. It's just us. It's just us. And then I had this amazing feeling that you have this memory, you've heard of these times when someone in their last seconds, they open their eyes. And my dad did exactly that. At that exact moment that I had that thought, he opened his eyes and we all got to say goodbye, and then he kind of slipped away. And I think, I believe that, you know, because I had to be away a couple of days before that, and it was like my dad was waiting and me getting back as well. And I think sometimes when you visualize compassionately for someone's healing, and even if it's their time, and the healing might not physically make them healed, I do believe the quality of your intentions and the love and the compassion that all healing work is grounded upon does have an effect, and it will help them in those final times. And that's the real amazing experience that I had with my dad.
Beautiful, really beautiful, making me quite emotional, because it can I think it's, you know, it's definitely something that people can be empowered with, you know, contributing to making that, even that part of things, really beautiful and really poignant. So, you know, you mentioned that being able to do things at a distance. I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing that, by the way, that beautiful miracle that you had. That's really touched me. So getting back on track, you mentioned about being able to do this sort of stuff from a distance. What if someone's thinking, well, I can catch up on this workshop from a distance as well, and catch up on it in my own time, maybe catch a recording if it's released? What would you say about people being able to actually physically join you in the room live at the end of this month at the Olympia London?
Well, I would say that there's always an added element of the group experience. You know, you have, you know, most people have heard of group consciousness. Like if a lot of people are in the same space having the same thoughts and ideas at the same time, then there's a more powerful experience. So I think when you're doing like a guided experience, there usually is more power, more transformational power when there's a lot of people there doing it at the same time. It doesn't mean that you don't get something in your own room in your own time, but I often find that the experience is richer, it's more powerful, because you have the group consciousness element. So if you've got like 50 or 100 people all doing something together, with matching the intentions and matching the healing, compassion and wish, then I think you get a multiplication of that sort of effect.
Yeah, someone's here in the comments said, yeah, most people have heard of group consciousness and how that can, I guess how that can Yeah, someone saying group consciousness elements, yeah, which I suppose bolster our
Yeah,
ability to immerse in the techniques that you're sharing as
yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
So can you already give us something to whet our appetite, ahead of joining you in the room, letting everyone know when it is, first of all, because that is crucial. And then also a technique that we can already begin to practice to get us in the zone to prepare for your work as well, David.
Well, something to whet your appetite. If you look down inside any part of your body, let's, for example, take your hand. If I looked inside my hand, you get cells. Inside the cells is DNA. Inside the DNA, there's atoms. Inside the atoms, there's protons, neutrons, electrons, croutons, and morons. No, there isn't croutons and morons, but there's protons, neutrons, electrons. Inside a proton and neutrons are quarks. And then you get to the point where there's nothing there. And there is nothing there. There is nothing physical there. There is no physical substance. You have waves and energy, vibration. So that's what I'm going to be talking about when I get to the technique, is the fact that there is nothing. Your body and what you perceive as something physical and solid in some ways is an amazing perception. But if you go down to the quantum level, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, there's no one in the room.
Yeah.
And you're staring at something that's not even there. You have the energy vibrations of everything at that scale, and nothing is distinguishable from anything else, really.
I love that. It reminds me of one of the things in the ancient Vedic texts that talk about how the space between the particles inside of us is so much more than the actual mass. And the space between them is almost on the scale of, as far away as the planets are from each other. In our minds, somehow we've learnt that they're all like closely intertwined and meshed, but actually we're mostly made up of space.
Yeah, in fact, the space between the center of the space between particles in an atom is 0.0000000000001%, which is 0 and 13 zero and a 1% empty space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, we can even just get lost in that as its own meditation. Just to meditate on that space. That's really a beautiful thing. Well, so did you give us a tip? Sorry. Did you give a tip? Or were you telling us?
Sorry. I think I was just whetting your appetite. No,
yeah.
I would say a simple tip is don't ever underestimate having a compassionate wish for someone's life to be going well and the body to be healed, because even when what you think is an insignificant thought, there are no insignificant thoughts. So as long as your wish for someone is grounded in compassion, regardless of that wish, it goes somewhere and it contributes in some way, because there are no insignificant thoughts.
Beautiful. Really, really beautiful. And I love how we can use that power to completely transform our whole lives, as well as the lives of those around us. So really beautiful. Thank you so much, David. Can you let us know when your workshop is and where everyone can join you and where they can grab their tickets?
Yeah, well, I'm on the Monday. I think it's at 10:30. I think I'm on.
Yeah, you're in the morning.
In the morning, yeah, great. I'm at my best in the mornings. Actually, my jokes are on fire in the morning.
Okay, so yeah, more croutons and croutons and
morons. Yeah. So I'm on at 10:30 in the morning, and you can grab tickets on the MBS Mind Body Spirit website. Yeah, and there's a link from my website goes through to that as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We're really, really looking forward to seeing you in London in just a few weeks' time. And thank you for taking the time to chat to me and our community. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye, David. My pleasure.